American psychologist William James in 1895 used the term moral multiverse rather than physical multiverse and spoke of a world of plasticity and indifference rather than the one we know today. It would take nearly 60 years for his addition to the English language to catch on, and only after it was used to describe the possibility of alternate universes in 1952 by eminent Austrian physicist Erwin Schrödinger. Although this use of the term was groundbreaking and outlandish, it was a concept that he and other physicists had been toying with for many years, and which was even briefly mentioned in his now famous thought experiment known as Schrödinger's cat. He proposed that given the number of life forms on Earth and an infinite amount of possibilities, the likelihood that we are not alone in the universe is very slim. Each time one of these metaphorical crossroads is reached, the universe splits into several possible branches based on the decisions available to the individual at that particular moment in time. These branches then continue to coexist as separate space-times. Given the abundance of life on Earth, let alone in the entire universe, this would lead to the existence of an infinite number of parallel universes. The distances between these universes could range from a few nanometers to billions of light years, but this would be irrelevant because there is no way that they could ever interact with one another. However, many physicists are still debating whether or not we are a part of a larger multiverse. Additionally, it is purely a theoretical idea. History is rife with stories of people who purport to have visited other worlds or to have returned from them. One of the most startling cases ever documented is that of the man from Taured. According to legend, a passenger airline arrived at Tokyo's Haneda airport in the late afternoon of a scorching summer day in July of 1954. The sun was still high in the sky when the passengers disembarked. The majority were Japanese, possibly coming home from vacations abroad, but some were also European. They quickly started to gather their luggage and proceeded through customs in the hurried and careless manner only exhausted travels show. The airport employees thought it was simply another routine work day. But one passenger in particular, a thin, well-dressed European man, had drawn their attention. His native language was French, though he could also speak a few other languages, and he was carrying a leather-bound briefcase along with his bags. He claimed to be there on business, and the officials had no reason to doubt him because he didn't appear to be a tourist. However, when he gave over his passport, things took a strange turn. He handed them a well-kept official-looking document with travel stamps from numerous different countries, including Japan. They found his place of origin strange, though boldly and proudly stamped as Taured on his passport, Taured. Although they were confident that the paper was authentic, none of the officials knew this person by name. They then called him aside to discuss the situation. They escorted him into a customs questioning area and asked for further forms of identification. He was more than willing to present, and sure enough, his license read Taured, and they were able to confirm that he was a citizen of the nation of Taured. He also produced banknotes issued by his country. They did not appear to be counterfeit based on their findings. They asked him to locate his country's exact location on a map of the world that was set down in front of him. He went on with a smug look on his face, but it turned out that he was the one who was now perplexed. He indicated a location where the current Principality of Andorra is located, claiming that this is where his ancestral home should have been. This location is directly on the boundary between France and Spain. He asserted that since the Kingdom of Taured was almost a millennium old, there was no way it could not have been shown on a typical map of the world. He also stated that this was his third visit to Japan that year. He had been making excursions like this for the past 5 years and had never had an issue. The passport travel stamps and his name seemed to confirm this. However, when airport officials chose to probe further into the specifics of his account, they learned that the business he claimed to be visiting hadn't heard of him, and that the organization he claimed to work for not only did neither exist, but when they called the hotel he was supposed to be staying at, they had no bookings registered for the man in the hotel. His bewilderment immediately gave way to rage as he accused the employees of playing a practical joke on him. Unsurprisingly, he wanted an immediate meeting with government representatives to resolve the issue. He would ultimately have a lengthy wait. He was given a suite on one of the highest levels of the airport hotel because they couldn't keep him in the customs room for an extended period of time. 2 armed immigration agents were stationed outside his room and were under tight orders not to let him leave. He received a dinner and was rumored to have had a nap. Later that evening, when government representatives arrived and knocked on his door but no one answered. When they entered the room, they discovered that he was not there. The man from Taured had simply disappeared, taking everything with him. The guarding immigration agents received a stern reprimand despite the fact that they insisted they had been watching the room all day and that only room service had come in or gone out. The only other way out was through a ledge-less window, 6 stories above the street below. Anyone attempting to do so would have died from the fall at those heights. While this was truly bizarre event that has left authorities and researchers alike perplexed. What happened to him? Who was the man from Taured? Why was his place of origin so unclear, and how did he disappear from a secured room on a hotel's 6th floor? These are all questions that need to be answered. He was an unknowing interdimensional traveler who originated from a realm that is quite similar to our own according to the prevailing theory. Although there were noticeable differences, he managed to cross the bridge into our realm where his native country did not even exist. While traveling from Taured to Japan, he lived in this place for a time, blissfully ignorant that anything had changed, before eventually being jolted back into his own reality at some point in the evening, dissolving entirely from our universe. They assumed that he most likely found himself waking up at a different hotel, possibly the one he had reserved before his trip, and remembered this encounter as some bizarre dream that he never entirely explained. He might have reported it at the time, and in his world it might be sitting on some obscure website. This is by no means an isolated incident, rather it appears to be a widespread phenomenon that has affected many people throughout history. Which leads to the questions: how many events have gone undocumented, and could this happen to you?